I won the lottery and told nobody. My family just found out after 3 years. My name is Marcus, and I'm 35 years old. 3 years ago, I won 8.2 million in the lottery. I told absolutely no one. Not my parents, not my siblings, not my friends. I collected my winnings anonymously through a trust, hired a financial advisor, invested smartly, and continued living my normal quiet life until last week, when my family found out. And now everything has exploded in ways I knew it would, which is exactly why I kept it secret in the first place. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning, taking you through it step by step so you can understand the buildup of emotions and decisions that led to this point. It's not just about the money. It's about a lifetime of feeling like I was on the outside looking in, and how that shaped every choice I made after that fateful night. The win happened 3 years ago, and even now recalling it brings back a rush of mixed feelings, exhilaration mixed with a deep-seated fear that everything could unravel. I've always bought one lottery ticket a week, just one. It was a simple ritual, something I did without much thought. Every Friday after work, I'd stop at the same gas station on the corner of Elm and Fifth, the one with the flickering neon sign. The clerk who always asked about my weekend plans, I'd hand over $2, get my ticket, and tuck it into my wallet, forgetting about it until the next week rolled around. It was nothing more than a harmless $2 habit, a tiny spark of hope in an otherwise predictable routine. But 3 years ago, on a random Wednesday night, that habit turned my world upside down. I was sitting in my small apartment, the kind with mismatched furniture and a kitchen that doubled as a living room, eating leftover Chinese food from a takeout container. The TV was on in the background, half-watched. Some reality show droning on about dramatic reveals. Then the lottery numbers flashed on the screen during a commercial break. I glanced at them casually, then pulled out my ticket from my wallet. More out of habit than expectation, I looked at the new members. Then I looked again, my fork hovering midair. My heart started pounding, a slow realization creeping in. I checked online, my fingers fumbling on my phone. Then I checked 3 more times, cross-referencing with different websites to make sure it wasn't a glitch or a mistake. I had all 6 numbers. The jackpot was $8.2 million after taxes. It wasn't the obscene amount where you could quit your job on the spot and buy a private island, but it was definitely the kind of money that changes your life forever. Enough to erase worries, build security, and open doors I'd only dreamed about. I sat there for probably an hour just staring at the ticket on my coffee table, the room suddenly feeling too small, too ordinary for what was happening. My hands were shaking uncontrollably, a mix of adrenaline and disbelief surging through me. My heart was racing so fast I could hear it in my ears like a drumbeat echoing my racing thoughts. This was real. This was actually happening to me. Marcus, the guy who blended into the background. In that moment, as the shock settled into something more tangible, my mind raced through possibilities. Freedom from debt, a better home, maybe even travel. But amid the excitement, a darker thought emerged, one that overshadowed everything else. And my very first thought, I'm not proud of this, but it's the truth, was I can't tell my family. It wasn't paranoia. It was a gut instinct, born from years of observing how they operated, how money and favoritism had always played out in our household. That single thought set the course for everything that followed. A protective barrier I built around my newfound fort. Why did I keep it secret? To explain that I need to tell you about my family, diving into the dynamics that had been simmering for decades, shaping my sense of self-worth and my relationships. I'm the youngest of 4 kids, born years after my siblings, almost like an unplanned addition to a family that was already complete. My siblings are Laura, who's now 43, Derek at 40, and Nicole at 38, growing up in our modest suburban house on Maple S Street. I was always the afterthought, the accident baby to one my parents had when they thought they were done having kids. From as early as I can remember, there was this unspoken hierarchy, and I was at the bottom. It wasn't overt abuse, but a subtle erosion of equality that built up over time, leaving me with a persistent feeling of being less valued. My siblings got college funds set aside for them, carefully paid and contributed to over the years. When it was my turn, I got the familiar refrain, "We can't afford it anymore, you'll have to take out loans." It stung, not just financially, but emotionally. Me felt like my future wasn't as important. I'd watch them graduate without the burden of debt, while I juggled classes and part-time jobs, wondering why I had to prove myself more. My siblings got help with down payments on their first houses, family pooling resources to get them started in life. I got, "You're young, you'll figure it out," as if my needs were dismissible because of my age. When my siblings needed money for whatever crisis arose, it was treated as a family emergency, with everyone pitching in, parents dipping into savings, even extended relatives chipping in small amounts. But when I needed help after my car got towed LED in a hit-and-run accident during my sophomore year of college, leaving me without transportation to my jobs, I got lectures about living within my means and being more responsible. "You should have saved for emergencies," they'd say, ignoring that I was already stretched thin. The pattern was clear and consistent. I was expected to give when asked, to be the supportive brother. But when it came to receiving, it was always a reason why it wasn't possible or why I didn't deserve it as much. This imbalance fostered a deep-seated resentment I tried to suppress, telling myself it was just how families worked, but it left emotional scars that influenced my every decision about the lottery. Let's break down my siblings a bit more, because understanding them helps explain why secrecy felt like the only option. My sister Laura is a marketing director at a mid-sized firm, pulling in a solid salary that most people would envy, but she's terrible with money. Always has been, living a lifestyle that outpaces her income. Designer clothes fill her closet, expensive trips to exotic destinations are her escape. And she bought a house that's a stretch even on her paycheck, with high-end finishes and a mortgage that keeps her on the edge. She's constantly a little short, turning to mom and dad for bailouts, framing it as temporary setbacks rather than chronic overspending. I'd see her at family gatherings complaining about bills while wearing a new watch or boasting about her latest vacation, and it highlighted the double star and dart. "Are we scrimping yet?" She was indulged. My brother Derek is the classic middle child who never really launched into adulthood with stability. He's bounced from job to job, always chasing the next big thing with a dozen different business ideas that have all flamed out spectacularly. Each one required family investment, terse loans from parents, contributions from siblings, promises of quick returns that never materialized. None of it was ever paid back. But the family kept enabling him, seeing it as supporting his dreams rather than throwing good money after bad. I'd listen to his pitches at dinners full of enthusiasm but lacking substance, and wonder why no one called him out on the pattern. Nicole is probably the most stable of the three on the surface, with a steady job and a family, but she married a guy named Brad, who Emmett Hicks. He's God's gift to Shear. They're perpetually one big deal away from being millionaires, chasing schemes that sound promising but always fall through. Network marketing, online ventures, you name it, spoiler. The big deal never happens, leaving them drowning in debt they pretend doesn't exist, racking up credit cards for investments while ignoring the mounting interest. They have 3 kids, which add S to the pressure, and their home life is a cycle of optimism followed by crashes. And then there's me, the outlier. I've got a decent job as an IT manager at a tech company, making $85K a year, which isn't extravagant but allows for a comfortable, if unassuming, life. I live in a modest apartment on the outskirts of town, the kind with basic amenities and no frills. I drive a 2015 Honda Civic that's reliable, but not flashy. Bought youth to save money. I'm single, no kids, and I mind my own business, focusing on my career and hobbies like reading and hiking. To my family, I'm the one who has it easy because I don't have the responsibilities of a spouse or children weighing me down. They say things like, "You're lucky, Marcus. No mouths to feed." Never mind that. I worked 2 jobs through college, Joom at a coffee shop and another, stocking shelves at night to pay off my loans without asking for help. Never mind that. I've never asked them for a dime, priding myself on self-reliance even when it meant going without. This perception of me as having it easy ignored the emotional toll of always being the one expected to fend for himself, building a quiet independence laced with bitterness. So, when I won that lottery, the implications hit me like a freight train. I knew exactly what would happen if I told them. They'd all have their hands out, each with compelling reasons why they deserved a piece of it, framed as family loyalty. Laura would cite her debts as a crisis. Derek his latest venture as a sure thing. Nicole her kids' needs as non-negotiable. And they'd never forgive me if I said no. turning it into a betrayal that would fracture relationships forever. The thought of endless guilt trips, accusations of selfishness, and the pressure to distribute what was mine filled me with dread. It wasn't just about the money. It was about preserving my autonomy, breaking free from the role of the perpetual giver who gets nothing in return. I decided right then, in that quiet apartment, with the ticket still in my hand, that nobody could know. This was my secret, my shield against the family dynamics that had always left me feeling undervalued. The decision brought a strange sense of calm amid the chaos, a way to protect not just the fortune, but my peace of mind. The first year was all about setting everything up carefully, a period of cautious planning where I educated myself to avoid the pitfalls I'd read about. I did extensive research online and in books, learning about lottery winners who go public and often end up broke, harassed by strangers, or estranged from loved ones due to constant demands. Stories of winners who lost everything to bad investments or predatory relatives haunted me. Reinforcing my resolve, I found a lawyer who specialized in trusts and asset protection, a no-nonsense professional recommended through discreet channels. We spent weeks setting up an ELA key to claim the ticket anonymously, ensuring my name never appeared on anything public-facing. The lawyer handled the collection of the check, depositing it into a trust where I was the sole beneficiary. Shielded fro, prying eyes. This process felt like building a fortress around my windfall, each legal step alleviating some of the anxiety that had built up since the win. With the money secured, I started making changes, but slowly, methodically, to avoid drawing attention. First, I paid off my student loans, haul $47,000 of them, accumulated from years of borrowing for a degree in computer science. That felt amazing, like a massive weight I'd been carrying for 12 years. A constant reminder of my family's unequal support just vanished overnight. The relief was profound. I remember the day the final payment cleared, sitting at my desk and feeling lighter, freer, as if I could finally stand tall without that burden. Next, I paid off my car loan, eliminating another monthly drain. Then I put a solid down payment on a nice condo, but not too nice, just a two-bedroom place in a decent neighborhood with good schools and parks nearby, nothing that screamed sudden wealth. I paid cash for the remaining balance so I had no mortgage hanging over me, which brought an incredible sense of security. I owned my home outright, a stability I'd never known. I maxed out my retirement accounts, contributing the maximum to 401k NIR, as thinking long-term about a future where I wouldn't have to worry. I set up investment portfolios with the help of my financial advisor, diversifying into stocks, bonds, and index funds for steady growth. I kept $500k liquid in a high-yield savings account for emergencies, a buffer that gave me peace of mind. The rest went into those diversified investments growing quietly in the background. And through it all, I kept going to work every day at my IT job, kept driving my same old Honda Civic, kept living my normal life as if nothing had changed. Maintaining that routine was crucial. It kept me grounded, prevented the money from overwhelming my identity. My family noticed subtle shifts. I seemed less stressed, more at ease during calls or visits. I told them I'd gotten a small raise at work and finally paid off some lingering debt, which was partially true. They said, "That's nice," in that offhand way, and immediately pivoted back to talking about their own problems as if my minor victory was in. Consequential at Thanksgiving that year, gathered around the table in my parents' house, Laura was complaining about her credit card debt, which had ballooned to $30k from impulsive purchases and trips. Mom looked at me pointedly and said, "Marcus, you're good with computers and numbers. Maybe you could help your sister set up a budget." I obliged, spending an afternoon creating a detailed spare mold with Katie. S for expenses, keeps on cutting costs, and even automated reminders. She thanked me half-heartedly but never used it, letting it gather digital dust while her spending continued unchecked. Derek was there too, buzzing with excitement about his newest business idea, some keycroak venture that he swore was revolutionary and required $10k to get in on the ground floor. He asked if I wanted to invest, framing it as a family opportunity. I politely said no, explaining I wasn't comfortable with the risk. He called me risk-averse and lacking vision, dismissing my caution as cowardice. That scheme collapsed just 3 months later, as they all did. He lost everything he put in, but he never mentioned it again, sweeping it under the rug like his previous failures. These interactions reinforced why I'd kept the secret. Any hint of resources would be seen as an invitation to extract. Year 2 brought the requests, even though they didn't know about the lottery, a gradual escalation that tested my boundaries and stirred up old emotions somehow. My family got it in their heads that I was doing really well financially, perhaps because I stopped complaining about money during conversations, or because I appeared more relaxed, no longer carrying the visible strain of debt. Whatever the trigger, the Azair. Keys started coming in, each one pulling at the threads of guilt and obligation I'd spent years trying to untangle. It began subtly with Laura, calling me one evening, her voice laced with that familiar mix of charm and desperation. She needed to borrow $2,000 to cover Christmas gifts for her extended circle of friends and family. Promising she'd pay me back in January without fail, I lent it to her, against my better creed, judgment, hoping it might foster some reciprocity. But January came and went, and when I gently asked about it during a family call, she got offended, snapping, "I'm your sister. Are you really going to hound me over money like this?" I never saw that $2,000 again, and it became another unspoken debt in the family ledger, one that highlighted how my contributions were expected but never reciprocated. Then Derek's situation imploded. His wife left him after years of instability, citing his endless failed ventures as the breaking point. He called me in tears, explaining he needed $5,000 to cover his half of the rent until he found a roommate, a Pia. Linked to the idea that family helps family. Right, I gave it to him, specifying it was a loan to be paid back when he could, but deep down, I knew better. Months later, when I brought it up casually, he said, "I thought that was a gift. You make good money. I didn't think you'd miss it." His words stung, reinforcing the perception that my stability made me a resource to be tapped, not a person with his own needs. Nicole's crisis came next, when her husband's latest business failed spectacularly, as they all did, leaving them facing foreclosure on their home. She reached out via text, explaining they just needed help with 3 months of mortgage payments, $6,500 in total. And they'd pay me back as soon as they got back on their feet. I agonized over it, the emotional weight of their 3 kids pulling at me, but I said I didn't have it to give, sticking to my boundaries. Nicole cried on the phone, her voice breaking as she pleaded, and Mom followed up with a call, labeling me selfish. "They have children, Marcus, your nieces and nephews. How can you turn your back?" The guilt trip lingered for weeks, gnawing at me during quiet moments, making me question if I was the monster they painted me as, but I held firm, and eventually they figured it out. Nicole got a part-time job in addition to her main one. They downsized to a smaller place, and they survived without my intervention. Yet the fallout continued. At Christmas that year, surrounded by the glow of lights and the smell of pine, Mom made a point of talking about how some people have more than they need, while others struggle just to get by. She wasn't subtle about looking at me when she said it, her eyes full of accusation in their narrative. I was the selfish one, single guy with no responsibilities, who wouldn't lift a finger to help his family, ignoring the years I'd been the one left to fend for myself. Year 3 marked a turning point with the childhood home, an event that stirred up a whirlwind of nostalgia and unexpected emotions, ultimately leading to the unraveling of my secret. In March of this year, I found out through a casual online search that my childhood home, my house on Maple Street, where we'd all grown up, was going into foreclosure. It wasn't my parents' current house. They'd sold this one when I was 18 to downsize after the kids moved out. A nice family had bought it, but they'd fallen on hard times. New husband lost his job and a company downsizing medical bills from an unexpected illness piled up, and now the bank was foreclosing. I drove by one day on a whim, parking across the street and staring at the familiar facade, the foreclosure sign stark against the lawn. I don't know. It hit me so hard. Waves of memories flooded back. A mix of joy and pain that left me sitting there for over an hour. That house held so many moments. Learning to ride a bike in the driveway, scraping my knees on the concrete, but feeling triumphant. Having my first kiss on the front porch under the stars. An awkward teenage moment full of promise. Family dinners where laughter echoed, but also arguments where I felt invisible. Not all memories were good. There were times of feeling overlooked, like when my siblings' achievements were celebrated while mine were footnotes. It was where I grew up, the foundation of my identity. The thought of it being lost to strangers or demolished twisted something inside me. I contacted the bank discreetly, learning the family. I owed $180,000 on the mortgage, while the house was worth maybe $240,000 in the current market. After days of internal debate, weighing the risks against the sentimental pull, I made a decision. I bought the house outright through my LXE, paying $190,000, enough to cover the mortgage in full and give the family a little cushion to start over, perhaps relocate or rebuild. But here's the thing. I didn't buy it for my family to gift it back or stir up old ties. I didn't buy it to move into myself, turning it into a personal sanctuary. Instead, I bought it to rent it out to a family who truly needed it, a way to pay forward the stability I now had. I found a nice couple with 2 kids who'd been looking for a stable place after being evicted from their previous rental through no fault of their own. Knee Building was condemned due to structural issues, leaving them scrambling. They were good people with stable jobs, and Chu a teacher, the other a mechanic. But life had thrown them a curveball. I offered them below market rent, making it affordable and sustainable. Watching them move in, their kids exploring the yard with wide-eyed wonder, felt like I'd done something genuinely good. A meaningful use of my money that aligned with my values. I thought done it all anonymously, that no one would find out it was me behind the SG. Little did I know, this act of quiet kindness would be the thread that unraveled everything. The discovery came 3 weeks ago, sudden and shattering like a crack in the dam I'd so carefully constructed. My sister Laura found out through a chain of coincidences and breaches that still baffle me. She's friends with a woman who works at the title company handling property transactions in our area. This friend mentioned in passing, during a casual coffee catch-up, that she processed a sale for our old child. Hood home on Maple Street. Laura, perhaps feeling nostalgic or just curious, asked who bought it. Her friend, violating about a dozen privacy laws and professional ethics, told her it was purchased by an LXE. Laura, being the persistent type who loves digging into details, asked for the name. The friend shared it and Laura took it from there, Googling the LXE, doing some online sleuthing, finding out it was Registry. Due to a trust, she did more digging, and I don't know how exactly. Maybe she paid for one of those background check sites that pull public records, or perhaps she called around under some pretext, but she connected the dots back to me. It was a Tuesday night. I was in my condo making dinner, my simple stir-fry with vegetables from the market, when my phone rang. Laura's name flashed on the screen. I answered casually, but her first words were direct. "Did you buy the house on Maple Street?" "No, hello, no, how are you?" I froze, the spatula in my hand, pausing mid-stir. "What I managed. Our old house. Did you buy it?" My mind raced, weighing options. I thought about lying, maintaining the facade. But I was tired of lying, tired of hiding this part of my life. The weight of secrecy had been building, and in that moment it felt exhausting. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I did." There was silence on the line, thick and heavy. Then, How did you afford that?" "That house is worth like $200,000. You're always saying you're broke." "I never said I was broke," I corrected, my voice steady but my heart pounding. "I said I couldn't lend money. I didn't have." "Marcus," her voice changed, got harder, edged with suspicion. "How did you buy that house?" I could have lied then, fabricated a story about savings or a loan, and maybe I should have to preserve the peace. But something in me just snapped. The years of unequal treatment, the recent requests, the constant one-sidedness. "I won the lottery," I said bluntly. 3 years ago, I didn't tell anyone." The silence was deafening, stretching out like an eternity. "You what?" she finally sputtered, her voice rising. "I won the lottery, $8.2 million, 3 years ago." "You?" She was sputtering now, actually sputtering in disbelief. "You've had millions of dollars for 3 years and you didn't tell us." "That's right. I asked you for $2,000 for Christmas. Derek needed help with rent. Nicole almost lost her house. And none of that was my responsibility," I said calmly, though inside I was bracing for the storm. "We're your family." "Exactly. My family. The family that spent my entire life treating me like an 8-tam when it's convenient and an afterthought when it's not. "I can't believe this," she said, her voice breaking into cries. "I can't believe you do this to us." I didn't do anything to you, Laura. I won money. It's mine. I don't owe it to anyone. Mom and Dad are going to be devastated. Then don't tell them. But of course, she told them. She told everyone, spreading the news like wildfire through our family network. The fallout began immediately, a cascade of reactions that unfolded in phases, each one intensifying the emotional turmoil. Week 1 was pure shock, and Andrew, my phone exploded with notifications, calls, texts, voice emails, all of them echoing the same sentiments of betrayal and outrage. How could you? How could you keep this from us? How could you let us struggle when you had millions sitting there? Mom left a voicemail, her voice trembling with tears. I don't understand, Marcus. We raised you better than this. We raised you to care about family. Dad's message was shorter, more commanding. Call me now. Derek sent a text that cut deep. I knew you were a selfish prick, but this is a new low. Nicole didn't reach out at first, her silence almost hurting more than the other's vitriol, leaving me wondering if she'd written me off entirely. I didn't respond to any of them. What was there to say that wouldn't escalate things? The words felt futile against their collective fury. 3 days later, they all showed up at my condo unannounced. Hows of them. Mom, Dad, Laura, Derek, Nicole, and even Nicole's husband, Brad. They pounded on the door, their voices carrying through the hallway. I looked through the peephole and saw them standing there like an angry mob, faces flushed with emotion. I didn't open the door, my heart racing as I retreated. To the couch, Marcus. Mom shouted, "Open this door right now." "We know you're in there," Laura added. "Your car is here." I sat on my couch, put in earbuds, and blasted music to drown them out, waiting them out as the minutes ticked by. They stayed for almost an hour, shouting pleas and accusations that my neighbors definitely heard. Before finally leaving, they slipped notes under my door. Laura's read, "You're not the person I thought you were." Derek's, "Enjoy your money. Hope it keeps you warm at night." Mom's, "Please talk to us. We love you. We just want to understand." The notes sat on my table like accusations, stirring a mix of guilt and defiance. Week 2 shifted from guilt trips to outright demands, the family's initial shock giving way to calculated asks that revealed their true priorities. Laura sent me a detailed breakdown of her debts via email, $30K in credit cards. From years of overspending, $15K in a personal loan for a home renovation. $8K she owed mom and dad for previous bailouts. "You could clear all of this and not even notice the money gone," she wrote. "I'm your sister, please help me." The plea tugged at old loyalties, but I saw it for what it was, entitlement. Derek followed up with a business proposal, another one of his grand ideas this time, an app for some niche market that he claimed needed $50K in startup capital. "This is it, Marcus. This is the one that's going to make it. I just need someone to believe in me. Be that person." His words evoked memo. Rise of past failures, the money sunk without return. Nicole was the most straightforward, sending a text. "Our kids' college funds are empty. You could change their lives. You could give them the opportunities we didn't have. Don't you care about your nieces and nephews?" The appeal to the children hit hard, stirring paternal instincts I didn't even know I had, but I resisted. Mom and Dad asked me to come to dinner, just to talk, no pressure. I went against my better judgment. Perhaps because a part of me still craved their approval, or maybe I thought I owed them at least that much after years of silence. The family dinner was, of course, an ambush. Everyone was there. Laura, Derek, Nicole, Brad, even my Aunt Karen, who I barely know, but who showed up like a reinforcements. Mom had made pot roast, my favorite from childhood, the aroma filling the house in a way that felt manipulative. The irony not lost on me. We sat down, and at first everyone was weirdly nice, complimenting the bottle of wine I'd brought, asking about my work in IT, making small talk as if nothing was amiss. Then Dad, clear, Ed, his throat signaling the shift. "Marcus, we want to talk about this lottery situation. We're not here to judge you," Mom said quickly, her eyes pleading. "We just want to understand." "Understand what?" I asked. "Why you didn't tell us," Laura jumped in. "Why you've been sitting on millions while we've been strud." "I didn't tell you because I knew this would happen," I said, gesturing around the table. "This right here, everyone acting like my money is their money. It's not about that," Derek said. "It's about family, taking care of family. Like how the family took care of me." I countered. my voice rising with years of pent-up frustration. Where was the family when I was working 2 jobs to pay for cars? Where was the family when I needed help with my car after the accident? Where was the family every time I asked for anything and got turned away? That was different, Mom said softly. We didn't have it to give. But now that I have it, I'm supposed to give. That's the rule. You've only help when it's convenient for you. You have $8 million, Laura shouted, her face reddening. We're not asking for all of it. We're asking for help. Help I've given before, never been paid back for, I shot back. That shut her up momentarily. What's that supposed to mean? Derek asked defensively. It means I've loaned you money, Derek. Multiple times, thousands of dollars over the years. I've never seen a penny of it returned. Those were gifts, he said, shifting uncomfortably. They were loans that you never paid back. Just like Laura's $2,000 for Christmas gifts, just like the $6,500 Nicole asked for during your foreclosure scare. I offered to pay you back, Nicole said quietly. When? You've never mentioned it once in the 2 years since. We've been busy, she murmured. But the table went quiet, the air thick with unspoken truths. This is what I'm talking about, I continued, my voice steady but my emotions churning. You all think I owe you something. You think because we're related, I'm supposed to fund your lives, but it only goes one direction. You take, and I'm supposed to just leave without question. That's not fair, Mom said quietly, tears welling. Isn't it? When have any of you helped me? When have any of you offered me anything without expecting something in return? No one answered, the silence a damning admission. I won the lottery, I pressed on. It's my money. I don't owe it to anyone, and the fact that you all think you're entitled to it is exactly why I didn't tell you. So that's it, Laura asked, her tone bitter. You're just going to keep it all for yourself. I'm going to do what I want with it, which includes helping people who actually need it, people who didn't treat me like garbage my whole life. We never treated you like garbage, Mom said, looking genuinely hurt, her face crumpling. You treated me like an afterthought, I said quietly, the words heavy with pain. You paid for Laura's college, Derek's college, Nicole's college. I got loans and lectures. You help Ed all of them buy houses. I got you'll figure it out. You bailed them out constantly, but when I needed help, I got nothing but judgment about responsibility. We didn't have the money by the time you came around, Dad interjected, but you had it for Derek's 5 failed businesses. You had it for Laura's credit card debt. You've never said no to them. You've only ever said no to me. The silence was heavy, oppressive. I've everyone avoiding eye contact. I'm not giving any of you money, I said, standing up, my chair scraping against the floor. Not because I don't care about you, but because giving you money won't fix anything. It'll just enable the same patterns that got you here in the first place. You're being cruel, Nicole said, her voice breaking. I'm being honest, maybe for the first time. I left then, walking out into it, the night driving home with a mix of liberation and sorrow. Once there, I blocked all their numbers, severing the immediate lines of attack. Week 3 saw the extended family getting involved, the news spreading like wildfire through aunts, uncles, and cousins, amplifying the drama to new levels. Suddenly, I was getting calls from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, each one laced with curiosity or opportunism. Most were fishing subtly. Hey, I heard you came into some money. Good for you. How's that going? Some were more direct, like Uncle Ray asking for $20K to fix his leaking roof, detailing the water damage as if it were my problem. Cousin Beth inquired if I'd be willing to invest in her friend's restaurant venture, promising high returns. And Karen, the one from the dinner, left a voicemail dripping with judgment. You're selfish and cold-hearted. You've forgotten where you came from. Where I came from, family that treated me like a second-class member and now wanted to treat me like a bank. My phone rang constantly, a barrage that disrupted my days. I changed my number to escape it, but they adapted, starting to message me on Facebook, Instagram, even LinkedIning with professional pretexts. I deleted all my social media accounts, erasing my online presence to regain control. Someone, I suspect Derek, given his tech-savvy side, leaked my new address to the whole family. Then the letters started arriving, physical mail that felt invasive. Most were guilt trips. family history and my supposed obligations. Some were straight up demands, like one from a cousin I barely knew asking for $100K to pay off her mortgage, as if we were close. The entitlement was staggering, a reminder of how money can distort relationships. Month 2 brought Laura's full-scale campaign to turn the family against me, the calculated effort that deepened the divide. She started a family group chat that I wasn't included in, but my cousin Amy, one of the few neutrals, sent me Kentes in it. Laura painted me as this cold, heartless person who had abandoned his family in their time of need. He bought our childhood home, but won't help his own sister pale. For debt, she wrote. He has $8 million and watched Derek struggle through a divorce without lifting a finger. He let Nicole almost lose her house when he could have helped with one phone call. She conveniently left out all the context. The unpaid loans I'd given, the constant taking without giving, the lifetime of being treated as lesser. Some family members bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. Aunt Karen posted on Facebook about people who forget their roots when they get a little money, not naming me, but making it obvious. Others were more skeptical. Cousin Amy texted me directly. There's 2 sides to every story. What's yours? I told her everything, pouring out the years of favoritism and one-sided support. They've always treated you differently, she replied. I've noticed it over the years. I'm sorry. Her validation meant more than she knew, a small beacon of understanding in the storm. The lawsuit threat came 2 months after they found out, a desperate escalation that shocked even me. I got a letter from a lawyer representing Laura, Derek, and Nicole, threatening to sue on grounds of oral contracts for loans I'd supposedly promised, invoking promissory estoppel and other legal jargon to argue I'd committed to helping them financially. It was absurd, but the audacity hurt. I called my own lawyer, T. He won who'd set up the trust, and we had a good laugh over it. They have no case, he assured me. You never promised them anything from the lottery winnings they didn't even know about. So, I don't need to worry. Not even a little. This is a Hail Mary. They're desperate. He sent them a cease and desist letter, and the threat disappeared as quickly as it came, but the damage was done. The Gate actually tried to sue me, their own brother, turning family bonds into a legal battle. That's when I knew there was no coming back from this, no mending the rift. The one who reached out came 3 months after everything exploded, a glimmer of hope amid the wreckage. Nicole called from a new number I'd never seen. I almost didn't answer, but something, intuition perhaps, made me pick up Marcus. Her voice was small, tired, lacking the usual edge. Yeah, I'm not calling to ask for money. Okay, I'm calling to apologize. I didn't say anything, letting the words hang. You were right, she continued, about all of it. We've treated you differently. We've taken advantage. And when you finally had something for yourself, we tried to take that too. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about what you said at dinner. About how we never helped you, and you're right. I didn't. We just assumed you were fine because you never complained. I shouldn't have had to complain to be treated like family. I know, she said, her voice cracking into sobs. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I felt my own eyes getting wet, emotions I'd buried surfacing. I don't expect you to forgive me, she went on. I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what we did, and I'm ashamed. Thank you, I managed to say, my throat tight. Are you okay? She asked gently. I'm getting there. I hope you are. I hope you're happy. You deserve to be happy. We talked for a while after that, really talked for the first time in years. She shared about her life, her genuine struggles with debt and marriage, but never once asked for help or hinted at it. She told me about her kids' school achievements, about going back to school herself for a certification, about finally standing up to Brad about his endless failed business dreams. He's getting a real job, she said. We're getting counseling. We're actually dealing with our problems instead of expecting someone else to fix them. That's good, Nicole. Really good. She hesitated. Can I call you sometimes? Just to talk. No money, no drama, just siblings catching up. Yeah, I said, surprised by my own willingness. I'd like that. She's the only one I still talk to now, a fragile bridge in an otherwise burned landscape. It's been almost 6 months since my family found out about the lottery. And here's where I am now, reflecting on the emotional journey that's brought me to this point of tentative peace. I don't talk to my parents. They've tried reaching out a few times, mostly through Nicole as an intermediary, but I'm not ready to engage. Maybe I never will be. To hurt runs too deep, a lifetime of feeling secondary. Laura and Derek have gone completely silent. No more demands or accusations. I think they finally realized they're not getting anything from me, and the radio silence is both a relief and a quiet sadness. The extended family has mostly moved on to the next drama in their lives, though I'm sure I'm still the villain in some circles, the greedy relative who hoarded his fortune. I'm okay with that. Their opinions no longer define me. My life is peaceful now, a calm I've earned. I still work my IT job, not because I need the money, but because I like the structure it provides, the daily rhythm of problem solving and colleagues who treat me as an equal. I've started traveling, something I'd always wanted, but never prioritized. Went to Japan last month, wandering the bustling streets of Tokyo and the serene temples of Kyoto, finding solace in new experiences. Iceland is next on the list with its glaciers and hot springs calling to me. I've been dating someone named Sophia, a social worker with a kind heart and a sharp wit. I told her about the lottery on our third date, wanting to be upfront from the start to avoid secrets. She didn't care in the way I'd feared. She actually laughed and said, "Good for you for keeping it quiet." Sounds like a smart move. She's the first person who's treated the money like it's exactly what it is. Mine, without expectations or judgments, I've been donating a lot anonymously, channeling the funds into causes that matter: children's hospitals for medical research, scholarship funds for underprivileged students like I once was, local food banks to help families in need. I even set up a trust fund for Nicole's kids' education, ensuring they have opportunities without the struggles I faced. She doesn't know. It's from me, and I prefer it that way. The family who's renting my childhood home is their daughter just got accepted to her dream college on a partial scholarship, and they send me Christmas cards with updates, photos of their holidays in the house that once was mine. That feels better than any amount of money I could have given my siblings. He's impact without strings. What I've learned through all this is profound. Lessons etched into my psyche from the emotional highs and lows. Money really does show you who people are, stripping away pretenses. When I had nothing, my family didn't care about helping me, dismissing my needs as inconsequential. When I had everything, they cared about nothing but taking from me, revealing greed masked as kinship. That's not love, that's not family, that's just greed with a familiar face. I also learned that protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. Setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's self-respect. Saying no when people have only ever taken from you isn't wrong. It's empowerment. For 35 years, I bent over backward trying to be a good son, a good brother, proving my worth through quiet compliance, hoping for attention, help, or love in return. The lottery gave me the freedom to stop trying, to step out of that role and into my own life. And honestly, that's worth more than the money itself. Ability to live authentically without the constant pull of unbalanced obligations. To anyone reading this, if you win the lottery, don't tell anyone seriously. Hire a lawyer, set up a trust, claim it anonymously, and keep your mouth shut. But more importantly, if you have a family that treats you like you're only valuable for what you can give them, you don't owe them your windfall. You don't owe them anything. Blood doesn't entitle people to your resources, your peace, or your happiness. Take care of yourself. First, set boundaries, say no, and if they call you selfish for it, maybe they're just upset that you're not easy to use anymore. Of course, sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd told them from the beginning, if I'd been honest about the lottery right away. Would they have been happy for me, celebrating without immediately seeing dollar signs? Would it have brought us closer or just accelerated the demands? I don't think so, based on everything I know, and that's the saddest part. I won $8.2 million and lost my family in the process. But the truth is, I don't think I ever really had them in the first place, not in the way that counts. Now I have peace. I have freedom. I have a life that's entirely my own. And I have a sister, Min Sid, who's actually trying to be better, who's actually trying to see me as a person instead of a resource. That's enough for now. The money didn't change me. It just revealed what was already there, what wasn't. I'm Marcus, I'm 35, I won the lottery and didn't tell anyone, and I do it exactly the same way again. Update. A lot of people are asking if I regret buying the childhood home, since that's how my family found out. Honestly, no. That house is being lived in by a family who deserves it, who are making new memories there. That feels right, even if it came at a cost. I just wish my family had found out differently, or never at all. Updo 2. To everyone asking about my relationship with Nicole, we talk every few weeks now. She's doing well, making real changes. We're rebuilding slowly, one conversation at a time. I'm not ready to see her in person yet, but maybe someday, baby steps. Update 3. Yes, I'm in therapy, have been for 6 months now. It's helping me work through a lifetime of being the forgotten kid, unpacking the emotions and patterns. If you're in a similar situation, I highly recommend it. Sometimes you need someone objective to tell you that you're not crazy for protecting yourself. Growing up with such blatant favoritism built layers of insecurity that influenced every major decision in my life, including the secrecy around the lottery. As the youngest, I always felt peripheral, like an add-on rather than a core member, which fostered a deep independence but also a reservoir of resentment. Specific incidents accumulated into a narrative of unworthiness, missed opportunities, dismissed needs that made the win feel like a test of whether I deserved good things. The initial shock of winning transitioned from optimism to strategic planning, a way to assert control over my fate. Paying off debts was cathartic, lifting burdens, but the isolation of secrecy was lonely. The family's request triggered old guilt, but refusing them built resilience and self-assurance. Buying the home was an attempt to reclaim a piece paid of my past positively. The fallout moved from suppression to raw expression. The dinner confrontation was liberating yet heartbreaking, a release of long-held truths. Nicole's apology offered hope, a crack in the wall of alienation. Therapy has been instrumental in unpacking these layers, affirming that my boundaries are valid and my feelings justified. Ultimately, the wealth amplified existing relationships, confirming suspicions and revealing harsh truths about love and entitlement.